Welcome to my project, Gunsmith Special. This is where we'll take old firearms like this one, which is the Western Auto 100A, manufactured by Mossberg, known as the 320. There's a few different variants of it, but the 320 is what it was known as. The parts list and other schematics that I've found from different repair guides or sources on the internet are available on the website, the Gunsmith Special website. One more look at this Revelation 100A before we break it down and start fixing it and putting it back together. This particular firearm was found on Gunbroker and purchased in Lake Havasu City from a pawn shop. And by the looks of it, you can tell it's in pawn shop condition. You know, scratched and rusty, and it just needs some love. So the goal for this project is to strip it down, remove the rust, re-blue it, replace melted parts like this, clean it, give it a overall, and give it to my dad. Now we're going to start breaking it down. Obviously it's unloaded, and here I'm just going to fast forward through a lot of this. I'll keep the video where we show the intricate parts and, you know, the internal workings, but if I'm sanding or if I'm bluing, quite honestly, there's a lot of better sources you can find on YouTube to show you examples of that. The goal of this channel and the goal of these videos is really to demonstrate and to document what's inside these old guns. A lot of these guns, this one in particular, 60, 70 years old, some of them over 100 years old, don't have the best documentation out there. So I would like to at least provide that, because I use YouTube as a resource when I'm breaking down and fixing projects, and this is one in particular that I was searching for information, and I thought, well, if it's not out there, you might as well do it. To give some new life to this old firearm, we're going to be using the Birchwood Casey kit. So starting with the cleaner degreaser, and then obviously moving to a blue and rust remover, and then ultimately we will be re-bluing it using perma blue and super blue at the end. For the stock, we're going to be using the Birchwood Casey Walnut stain. It's a water-based, very forgiving wood stain. After that, we'll apply the True Oil to give it the finish that we're looking for. True Oil, it does wonders. And the Shock Sheen and Conditioner to round it out. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the bolt. As you can tell, it's a basic bolt-action 22 rifle, and that being said, here's a dirty bolt to go along with that. Now we're going to break this down to every possible component that we can and clean it to the best that we can. We want to restore this thing to as close to new and factory condition as possible. This is going to be a little bit trickier, seeing how this is a piece of plastic and it's melted on the top. So I have sourced out a replacement part for it. They're still available. Obviously we're going to clean this one up, but I would like to use as many original parts as possible. We've already removed the barrel and the bolt. Now it's just time to remove the takedown screw, the trigger guard and those screws, and the butt plate and those screws. Although this rifle was sold and labeled as a Western Auto, it is a Mossberg all the way through. The trigger guard is exactly that you would find on a Mossberg. The butt plate, however, is not branded Mossberg like you would traditionally find on the 320 model, for example. It's the same pattern. Mossberg's just not in the molding of that butt plate, obviously because it was sold for and by Western Auto. So at this point we are sanding. We are going to start sanding and just taking this stock back to basic. I could have stripped it, but I prefer to do a sand and really just kind of work out all the imperfections. As you can see, this is couple of the in-process photos. Lots of sanding. Like I said, I'm not going to waste your time. Clearly you know what a sanded rifle stock would look like. So let's get on to staining. Like I said earlier, we're using the Birchwood Casey Walnut stain. It is a water-based stain, meaning you can add more water to it to lighten it up. Pretty forgiving in that regards. And this is how I apply it. The terry cloth covered staining pad, something I picked up from Harbor Freight. It's basically a sponge inside terry cloth, so it was perfect for this application. As you can tell, a little goes a long way, and this is really just the base coat. The true oil is really where everything starts to pop. The walnut color is really just your base. I am really loving the color that is coming out on the stain. You know, you can tell it's just a basic wood stock, but at the end of the day, that stain really brings out the character of the wood, and I'm happy with it. Here's more footage of staining and drying. There's nothing exciting like watching paint or wood stain dry, but just kind of apply it with your finger in a small area and then, you know, watch it get darker. I really did enjoy how the wood came to life. I'm very happy with the Birchwood Casey products. The blue is cold blue. You know, cold blue is cold blue. We'll get into that later. But the true oil and the wood stain, I'm happy with. I'll use them again. So applying true oil, just put your fingers in it and massage it through the stock. A little bit goes a long way, and you just have to kind of work it in there with your fingers. You sand it and then repeat. So you put multiple layers of true oil until you really get the stock at the right color that you're going for. So sand, repeat, apply, and go through the process again. I'm doing my best to speed up about 7 hours of video in less than an hour. Time to break down and clean some parts. So as you see, we'll take everything out and thoroughly deep clean it. First with soap and water. We'll use mineral spirits at some point, and then ultimately I end up buying an ultrasonic cleaner because I guess I need one. So as you can tell, you know, these parts just have years of dirt and dust, and it's a 22, so it's notoriously dirty, and it's just, you know, needed to be cleaned. You know, just dirty. So all the plastic parts are going into hot soapy water and being thoroughly cleaned and scrubbed. So that should help get some of the first layer of dirt and dust off of them. Probably never been cleaned, so that was needed. So it wasn't too hard to knock the dirt off of the butt plate or the trigger guard and really just kind of get in there with a brush and a Q-tip and clean it out. Now let's go ahead and look at cleaning and repairing, possibly replacing the receiver cap. This is something that slides into the back of the receiver. Soaking the parts in mineral spirits shouldn't hurt anything. I had to pick up a bench block, so this Real Avid one was pretty much in the same price range as all the others that I saw out there, and I wanted to try it out. And I also picked up these Atlin soft vice jaw pads, which are great for holding everything in there. I'm going to use them a lot. So now taking the receiver end cap pieces out of the mineral spirits and cleaning them with a wire brush, we find that the mineral spirits really didn't do much of anything in this particular case. If we were cleaning Cosmoline off a Soviet Mosin Nagant, then yeah, mineral spirits would be the right call, but in this case, hot soapy water would have did the trick. Ultimately, I end up throwing everything in the ultrasonic cleaner, so it doesn't really matter. Now we're going to take that vice block and start taking that end cap apart. So you grab your punches and just start really pretty easily sliding out that pin, and you'll see the latch and the spring fall from the receiver end cap. Now onto that bolt, that dirty, filthy bolt. You'll notice the bolt retaining ring at the very top. You'll have to just use a punch or a screwdriver, just pop that off, not really too hard. Then after that, it unscrews. There's a little ring. Mossberg calls it a bolt collar, but it's that piece that screws on and holds the bolt plate on, and really the whole bolt together. So take that off, bolt plate, and then clearly the bolt lever just kind of slides out, twist it and slide it. I am going to clean this one off and brush it off and make it easier to come undone there. The firing pin falls right out after that. There's your firing pin. And that's the bolt. That's all there is to it. Just a dirty bolt. And obviously it all requires a deep cleaning, as much as you can do. At some point in this process I decided to buy that ultrasonic cleaner because it would be utilized. So I'm just going to fast forward through all the cleaning. If somebody needs pictures of any of these components, I have it on the website, but also feel free to reach out to me. I just couldn't justify wasting 15 minutes showing you cleaning. This, however, was pretty cool. This was all the gunk that was left over, you know, off that bolt when I was done with it. So it had some dirt, and it got relatively clean, you know, scrubbing it that way with a wire brush and cleaner. Ultimately though, I'm going to go a step further. Threw some hops on it, hoppies, however you like to say it, and then we oil it up and put it back together, and it looks so much better. And once it's clean, it really just falls right back together. You know, the bolt body, the firing pin, the bolt lever, the bolt plate, the bolt collar, the bolt retaining ring. You put them right back together, and there you go. It looks and it functions so much better. A little grease in the right spots doesn't hurt. And now with the bolt cleaned, reassembled, and lubricated, we can move on. Mossberg calls this the bracket. Everything is assembled to the bracket. To remove the bracket from the barrel, we must remove the hammer spring and hammer plunger. Those are connected to the hammer plunger guide, which is screwed into the bracket. So first remove that plunger guide rod, and you can see the screws. Just take the two screws out, and then that is what holds the bracket to the barrel. We'll clean this up in a moment. From there, the other piece in the barrel is the extractor. Go ahead and remove that with the screwdriver. And now you can further clean the barrel. Getting back into the bracket, the first thing you'll want to do is pay close attention to how it's assembled and how the spring is connected and the rings and just how it all looks and works. I'm going to start with taking the retaining ring off, and you'll notice this retaining ring for the safety is the same exact ring that Mossberg uses on a lot of other parts. The retaining ring for the hammer pin, the sear pin, the hammer plunger, and the safety pin are all the same part. You'll notice there's 4 of them. Here's a quick snapshot of all the parts of the bracket laid out. Here are the parts before they go and as they go into the ultrasonic cleaner, and as they come out. That's probably what's more important, is what they actually look like. And I am really happy with the results here. Obviously it takes a little bit of scrubbing to get that fine layer off, but once you have that, you have a really clean piece of metal. All these parts are in great condition. This is exactly what I want. I'm going to show another quick before and after real quick. As you see it, it's sped up pretty fast, so we'll get to the end result of the parts that are bolted to the bracket. And again, I'm just very thrilled with the condition that they come out in. I found a T-diffuser works great inside the ultrasonic cleaner when you're dealing with small parts like screws and rings and things like that. I tried it with the plastic pieces as well, and you know, they're all relatively clean from the mineral spirits and the hot water, but it couldn't hurt. I wanted to take a moment here and just kind of show you what that water ends up looking like, and all the gunk that was pulled off of these parts. You know, this is just years of grease and dirt and gunk that just really need to be extracted from every individual part. And the takedown stud, pretty easy. Put it in a vise with your soft jaws and use a wrench. I found this to be one of the most important items in the rebluing process, and that is the cleaning. So using the cleaner degreaser and just scrubbing this thing down and getting it as clean as possible is absolutely essential to the final product. Now it's time to remove the rear and front sights using a brass drift punch and a business card underneath the elevation slide. Use the drift punch to punch the buckhorn dovetail sight out from left to right. And do the same thing in the front. I added a drop of oil to make it a little bit easier to punch out. And now we have all the components off the barrel. We will clean and degrease it again and start the stripping process. It's time to remove the old blue and any rust that's on the barrel. Using the Birchwood KC Blue and Rust Remover, I will saturate a swab and apply it to the barrel. After this, we'll use the same technique with steel wool, just getting in there and removing all the possible blue that could be on this barrel. Like I said earlier, there's lots of great resources for how to do bluing and staining and all sorts of gunsmithing projects. That's not what my videos are supposed to be. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna fast forward through the hours of bluing. Check out all the different options on bluing, all the different products available, whether it be Ronells or the Birchwood Casey's or the hot bluing. This is just one of many techniques. As you can see, I've fast forwarded through the video like 1000%, and you can really tell how much of the bluing has come off from that part of the barrel to the other part where I haven't applied it yet. It really is effective to remove blue. After removing all the blue, you'll want to clean it again with a cleaner degreaser thoroughly, and after you get done with that, you'll do it again and maybe one more time. This is really the most critical component right now, is to get that barrel as clean as possible, because you're going to apply the bluing, and the cleaner the barrel, the better the blue. After pulling it from the ultrasonic cleaner and thoroughly wiping it down one more time, I wanted to fill the barrel with earplugs to prevent any chemicals getting inside the barrel. And now I'm ready to start bluing. Set a timer for this. Rinse, repeat is the process. At some point I was not thrilled with the perma blue, and I went out and picked up super blue, and that seemed like it did a better job. I'm super happy with the coating that's coming out here, but it just took a long time to get there with the perma blue. With the blue applied and drying and everything else really wrapped up, we can start to put this thing back together now. So, reassembling the parts, all the parts are in individual boxes, grabbing the stock and putting a coating of the Birchwood Casey barricade. More bluing for the barrel. Again, you blew it, you clean it, you blew it, you clean it. I hit it with the steel wool and the blue. That seems to help. Once everything is blued and dried, it's time to start reassembling. So we can drift those sights back into where they belong from the right to the left. We can assemble the bracket and all of its components, and we can mount the bracket to the barrel. Once we've done that, drop the barrel into the stock and secure it with the takedown screw.
at that. No, that ain't it. Look at damn.
That's beautiful.
Is that it?
It's not the one.
It's close.
It is a Western Auto 321, a Western Auto 100A. Found in Lake Havasu. And yeah, it's gonna probably be tight because oh hey, get in there. See the other thing? That's almost I'm more excited about the other thing in there. That, my friend, is original.
Where'd you get that at?
An online auction.
That was Western Auto brand.
Which is the brand of the rifle. Those are more expensive than 308, so please don't shoot those.
Matter of fact, I believe you need to take them back.
Huh? You can't take them back.
No.
West by me by West.
No, well, you keep them with your Western stuff. Point being is it goes with, yeah. So the gun's gonna be a little bit tight because I put it back together, but
This is awesome.
it's been refinished and reblued and cleaned.
Have you
And
got anything?
I have not, dude. I finished it this morning. I've had 6 months to do it.
Yeah.
And here, I'm done with this. I'm gonna stop.